Welcome back to the Weekly News Roundup. This is the Privacy Edition. These are recorded live Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to catch the show live, you can help support the channel over at switchedtolinux.com/support. And if you have a look at the description of the video here, there are several social media links that we have. We are on Twitter, Gab, Minds, Mastodon, a few other ones over there as well. Let's go and dive on into the privacy news, shall we? First, we're going to start out with a couple of updates here. Actually, we're not. I was on the wrong news clip. All right, we're going to start on over here. We talked last week in Sillyville about Razer has this brand new gum. Well, if you've purchased gum from Razer, you might have had your data leaked. They actually had a data leak exposing over 100,000 customer records. It leaked pretty much everything about the individual customers. So it did have some payment methods. It did have emails. It did have addresses. 100,000 Razer customers exposed online through a misconfigured server. Read S3 leaky colander. That's right. That's not an Amazon S3 bucket. That's an S3 colander. They tend to leak. Anyway, the data was served in Elasticsearch cluster log chunk, which was configured to allow public access. Additionally, the sensitive data was indexed by public search engines and discoverable through a basic online search. Way to go, Razer. Way to go. You win the award for the least secure server in 2020. That might be saying a lot. How do you come up with the latest tech news related to, I don't know. It's 2020. Information exposed Razer's data leak. It included full name, email, phone number, customer internal ID, order number, order details, billing, and shipping address. In other words, it just says a whole thing, get wrecked. You're done. You're done. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump on to the next one. This is from BuzzFeed, but a few other people kind of picked this up. This is looking at a higher level Facebook executive. Why does BuzzFeed do this crap? It's like the world's worst website, and journalists for that matter. But anyway, occasionally they do find a good diamond in the rough here. And I think this is a decent one, very well verified. But you had the Sophie Zhang was a upper level Facebook exec, and let's see, Facebook data scientist, a data scientist, not executive, a data scientist. And she had all sorts of a variety of interesting interactions, identifying fraud cases, and nobody ever really followed up on any of these. So here are some of the biggest revelations. So she's basically fired. She writes this memo. Maybe she wrote the memo in retribution. Who knows? But whatever, we have this memo. So some of the basic revelations: it took Facebook leaders 9 months to act on a coordinated campaign that used thousands of inauthentic assets to boost President Juan Orlando Hernandez of Honduras on a massive scale to mislead the Honduran people. 2 weeks after Facebook took action against perpetrators in July, they returned, leading a game of whack-a-mole between Zhang and the operatives behind the fake accounts, which are now still active. By the way, Twitter is battling this very same thing. A lot of interesting things. In Azerbaijan, Zan discovered a ruling political party that utilized thousands of inauthentic assets to harass the opposition en masse. In other words, hey, the same thing they're saying happened here, and the thing they're like trying to be like, we don't want election meddling. We want our candidate to win. No one's allowed to meddle any way other than our candidate winning. That's really what Facebook is doing right now. So in Ukraine, Zhang found the inauthentic scripted activity supporting both former Prime Minister Yula, I'm not going to try and pronounce that, a pro-European Union politician, and former presidential candidate, I'm not going to pronounce either of those names, a former Prime Minister and ally of former President Petro Poroshenko. I can try that one. There you go. So Zelensky... Is that one of the ones I did try? Okay. Zelensky and his faction was the only major group not affected, he said of the current Ukrainian president. So, inauthentic data. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. There's a whole lot of these. So, basically, the data scientists are pointing these things out, and Facebook's just not really doing anything. So, like, yeah, you can meddle with us. No problem. We don't care. Go for it. Have fun. Also in Facebook news, a new lawsuit was filed against Facebook, primarily dealing with Instagram. And this goes back to when Apple did the update a few months back, and all of a sudden, all of these applications started popping up going, hey, X application would like your camera. Well, one of these was Instagram, and people were saying that, hey, what was going on here is that Instagram has been secretly utilizing our camera for a long time, and we didn't know it until Apple gave all of these pop-ups. All right. So we had the pop-ups showing up, and then everyone's like, holy crap, why are all these applications utilizing all these cameras? Guys, that's what applications do. That's why I don't download apps on my phone. Okay? Really? You don't do that. So anyway, Facebook comes back and says, well, this was a bug. It's just a bug, man. It's a bug. Because it's a bug. Just blame. Like, the thing was intentionally coded to spy on and collect everything and harvest it back and send it back to our servers. It was a bug. That's a big bug. I mean, it takes a couple gallons of Raid to get rid of that bug. Holy crap. All right, but anyway, that's what Facebook's alleging. New lawsuit came out. It'll be interesting to see if this goes to discovery and what they happen to find. This is LLC 20 CV 06534, U.S. District Court, Northern District of California in San Francisco, if you are wanting to look into more information. All right, Google corrects the unfortunate Stalkerware typo. They had a really funny typo. Now, Stalkerware, if you're unaware, we don't see it as much over here. Really big in Muslim countries where the men will put it on their wives' phones. It's been a known issue. In fact, that was one of the reasons it was allowed to stay on Google, is because they kind of said, take them off. Oh, I'm just scratching my neck. You know, because that's what some people in some of those countries tend to do. And so Stalkerware is allowed under some circumstances, like technically you're not supposed to put it on like an adult's phone, but they're there so that the parents can monitor their kids, or maybe because kids generally know more about the technology, maybe it's so that the kids can monitor the parents. Hey, John, change the computer. Mom and Dad's coming down the hallway, you know. But anyway, there was a very embarrassing typo in this. Legitimate forms of these apps cannot be used by parents to track their children. No, you can't track your children. However, the apps can be used to track a person's spouse, for example, without their knowledge or permission, unless a persistent notification is displayed. Like, whoops, that can and cannot supposed to be is supposed to be inverted. So acceptable things, the apps can be used by parents. They cannot be used to track a person, a spouse, for example. Basically, an adult, another adult, can't be used to track an adult without their knowledge or permission unless there's a persistent notification while the data is being transmitted. So there's a little whoopsie there, but there's been some discussion back and forth. Should these be allowed? Should these not be allowed? I think that there's applications, but I mean, I kind of like the idea of having the notification there. Now, there is something that can be said for certainly a parent putting this type of software on the kid's phone, because, you know, you're responsible for what that kid's looking at and doing. And sometimes you just need to know. And you can talk about, well, do you trust me or not? It's not really a matter of do you trust me. It's a matter of there's some dangerous places and I need to know if you walked into some bad areas. Now, there's a difference between that and throwing it on your spouse's phone and things like that. Although people do that kind of stuff all the time. And so it's kind of an interesting, let me know your thoughts. Where do you fall on line with all of those items? Before you move on, you can help support the channel by having a look at our affiliates. We have a whole group of affiliates over on switchedtolinux.com/affiliates. Today we are highlighting ExpressVPN. If you head on over here to ExpressVPN, you can actually, using the Get Started button, you can see what the current deals are. So now we have 12 months for $100. We have 6 months for $60, or a single month for $12.95. Great way if you are working at coffee shops, you need to get around a geo restriction, or you have another reason to need a VPN. Definitely have a look at ExpressVPN, tlm.li/EV. All right, now back to wrap up the last couple news stories. Apple Watch's blood oxygen monitor is for wellness, not medicine. Where's George Carlin when you need him with his discussion on euphemisms, right? So, yeah, I mean, really, Apple Watch's blood oxygen monitor is for wellness, not for medicine. What do you even mean? Well, what they're trying to mean is, hey, we can use this to track your oxygen levels, but it's not necessarily used to for a medical diagnosis. This is kind of what they're saying, and I get that, sure. But still, I'm leery about anything communicating with the internet and with a cloud that's carrying any type of health data like this. No, I'm not into that. Like, I know even like 10 years back, the kid I was mentoring back in those days, he was in high school. They had to have these things that, like, they basically had to wear these bio straps to measure their heart rate and stuff. Whatever happened to going to gym class and the gym teacher paying attention to see if you're actually running? You know, of course, we had to do this and all the data is collected and all these. I'm like, no, if you have that type of thing and your kid has to have that, like, no, do use better means of monitoring how my kid is doing. Like, you know, watch. Is he actually running the mile or is he walking it? I mean, there's a radical difference there, but we need to have more serious laws about any form of data collection like this. I don't care what your purpose is. All right, on to our feature story today. AT&T is now considering cell phone plans that are subsidized by ads. So you can get your cell phone plan cheaper if you agree to have the Universal Advertiser ID put on the device that can be shared with all of their advertisers. I have breaking news for you. This is the exact same thing that Verizon was doing with the super cookie that was actually deemed illegal a while back in courts. We're going back to before I even had this channel that was going on, where they had this super cookie attached to the phone, and that's kind of like illegal. Well, apparently if you opt into it, you can maybe get away with it now. So AT&T's like, hey, you'd like to give up all of your data, it's basically like installing Facebook's thing, you know, Facebook's Novu data tracker on you, getting on in there. I mean, really, what is going on with all this crap, right? What is going on with all this crap? But anyway, they say they're considering offering wireless phone plans partially subsidized by advertising as soon as a year from now. The consideration, which has not been previously disclosed, underscores AT&T's commitment to the advertising business. Okay, what about being committed to your customer? No, they're not committed to the customer. They're committed to the dollars and the advertisers who give them those dollars. All right, so anyway, let's see, to their advertising business, the U.S. phone carrier reviews its portfolio to identify assets in order to sell, in order to reduce the debt load. This is why debt kills companies. Debt is what killed, Toys R Us. Come on. So AT&T is considering selling its advertising technology unit, Xandar. Sources familiar with the matter have told Reuters. I believe there is a segment of our customer base where, given a choice, they would take some load of advertising for $5 or $10 to reduce their mobile phone bill. Hey guys, maybe I should have featured Mint Mobile. If you head on over to my switchedtolinux.com/affiliates, have a look at Mint Mobile. I pay like $15 a month. Okay, AT&T, with their saving $5 or $10, you're still paying more than that. Go to an alternative carrier rather than give your data up to them. So it does talk about how it's being used. It is being used by having a unique advertiser. Okay, so AT&T's engineers are creating unified customer identifiers, aka these super cookies that Verizon had that could track you across networks. Such a technology would allow marketers to identify users across multiple devices and serve them relevant advertising. Why, Alexa? Why? Why? Oh, my lands. The ability to fine-tune ad targeting would allow AT&T to sell ads at higher rates, he said. AT&T has invested in developing targeted advertising on its own media properties using data from its phone. Oh, it already is. Isn't that come for you? TV and internet customers, but the company has been slower in coming up to the curve on expanding its marketplaces that allow advertisers to use AT&T data to target other media companies. So I'd like to know, would you guys pay in advertising to subsidize your phone bill? Would you be okay with random ads popping up on your phone and for advertisers to track you across the world? Which, by the way, on your mobile phone, that means they know exactly who you are, where you are, who you're banking with, who you're talking to, every bit of access on your phone, handing that all to any number of advertising companies that they may be working with. Would you guys submit to that, or would you guys not? Let me know in the comments down below.
Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.